While you're selling old clothes on eBay, one American grandmother made $50,000 selling something she found in her deceased husband's basement. The item was so bizarre, it sparked a bidding frenzy. 1. A rubber duck that supposedly possessed children sold for over $100 on eBay. The seller warned buyers about strange behavior but promised zero explanations after purchase. This wasn't your typical bath toy situation. National headlines followed the sale because people couldn't resist the paranormal angle. Buyers actively hunt these haunted items, believing supernatural objects hold real power. The fascination runs deep. 2. This Dorito wasn't your average snack. Shaped exactly like the Pope's hat, it caught the attention of an internet casino looking for publicity. They paid $1,209 for this single chip. The buyer knew they weren't getting nutrition, they were getting headlines. Food oddities like this create bidding wars among collectors who chase the absurd. The casino displayed their papal Dorito proudly, proving that sometimes the weirdest shapes become the most valuable treasures. 3. One anonymous seller claimed they had discovered the ultimate answer to existence itself. Not through years of philosophy or deep meditation, but apparently through some random epiphany. They decided to auction off this profound wisdom on eBay for anyone willing to pay. The starting bid? Just 99 cents for life's greatest mystery. The listing description was deliberately vague. No hints about what the answer actually contained. No preview of the wisdom inside, just a promise that the winner would receive a handwritten note revealing everything they needed to know about the meaning of life. The seller warned potential bidders that the answer might not be what they expected. Bidding stayed surprisingly low throughout the auction period. Most people treated it as an elaborate joke. Others wondered if the seller was having some kind of existential crisis and trying to make money from it. A few genuine bidders seemed curious enough to throw in a couple dollars just to see what would happen. The final winning bid came in at exactly $3.26. Not exactly the price you'd expect for universal enlightenment. The winner received their promised handwritten note a few days later. According to reports, the note contained a simple message about finding happiness in everyday moments and being kind to others. Pretty standard advice, really. This sale perfectly captures the weird philosophical corner of online auctions. People regularly list abstract concepts, emotions, and intangible ideas for sale. Some sellers offer to teach you their personal life lessons. Others auction off their dreams, fears, or childhood memories. The internet has basically turned human experience into a commodity. 4. A grilled cheese sandwich sold for $28,000 because people thought they saw the Virgin Mary's face burned into the bread. The seller kept it for 10 years without any mold growing on it, which made buyers think it was truly special. An online casino bought it and took the sandwich on a tour across America. The whole thing became world famous after the sale. Food with religious images always attracts serious collectors who believe these items have spiritual power. 5. A rubber duck sitting in someone's bathtub shouldn't cost more than $100, but this wasn't your average bath toy. The seller warned potential buyers that this particular duck had a habit of possessing children. No joke intended. The listing came with zero guarantees and a firm no questions asked policy after purchase. When the auction ended, news outlets across the country picked up the story. Turns out people will pay serious money for paranormal items, even questionable ones. 6. After a morning TV show appearance, Justin Timberlake left behind something precious: his uneaten French toast. The DJ who interviewed him saw dollar signs instead of breakfast food. Within hours, the syrup-covered toast was listed online with photos as proof. The winning bid reached thousands of dollars. Fans called it the ultimate celebrity souvenir, worth more than concert tickets. The buyer planned to preserve it forever, treating the toast like a museum piece. Makes sense, right? Celebrity memorabilia creates bidding wars on auction sites. Even leftover breakfast becomes valuable when touched by fame. 7. William Shatner passed a kidney stone and decided the internet needed to own it. The Star Trek legend put his medical memento up for auction, where it sold for $25,000. The buyer wasn't some creepy collector, though. Shatner donated every penny to charity, proving that even Captain Kirk's bodily functions can save the world. Medical oddities aren't typically valuable, but when they come from Hollywood royalty, bidding wars explode. 8. A seller claimed they trapped an actual ghost inside a regular mason jar. The bidding somehow climbed past $50,000 before eBay pulled the listing. They worried about safety concerns. Apparently, even the auction site got spooked. The buyer genuinely wanted it for supernatural reasons, convinced they were purchasing real paranormal activity. Haunted object listings pop up constantly online, attracting believers willing to pay serious money for supposed spiritual encounters. 9. The entire town of Bridgeville, California went up for auction online, with a starting bid of $750,000. What's wild? This wasn't just some empty plot of land. We're talking about a real community with homes, businesses, and actual infrastructure. The listing read like a typical real estate ad, except instead of cozy 3-bedroom house, it was charming 83-acre town with post office included. The winning bidder basically became the mayor, landlord, and everything else rolled into one. Talk about the ultimate fixer-upper project. 10. A man decided his forehead was prime real estate for advertising. He auctioned off temporary tattoo space on his head, and a casino won with a $37,375 bid. For weeks he walked around with their logo stamped across his face. The tattoo became a walking billboard that attracted stares everywhere he went. This wasn't just about money, it was creative marketing taken to an extreme level. The winner got massive publicity from news coverage and social media buzz. Other people started copying the idea, turning body parts into advertising space. But here's the weird part. The man said it didn't hurt his social life at all. People were curious, not judgmental. The casino's investment paid off through viral marketing that reached millions of people worldwide. 11. The concept sounds ridiculous until you see the final sale price. Someone actually sold an autographed air guitar for real money on eBay. Not a physical instrument, mind you, just air. The winner received a certificate of authenticity, proving they owned nothing tangible. Bids climbed as people treated it like an elaborate joke, but the seller was completely serious about delivering this invisible musical masterpiece. Air guitar tours followed the sale, with the new owner proudly displaying their certificate at various venues. Well, this proves that novelty auctions can attract serious attention and real dollars, even when the product doesn't technically exist in the physical world. 12. A grandmother got listed on eBay by her own grandchild. The listing described her as annoying but cuddly, with a starting bid that never got serious takers. eBay quickly removed the auction for violating their rules about selling people. But the damage was done. News outlets picked up the story and ran with it. The kid claimed it was just a harmless joke, though grandma probably didn't find it that funny when reporters started calling. 13. Haunted dolls aren't just creepy movie props anymore, they're big business on eBay. Sellers craft elaborate backstories about cursed porcelain faces and midnight movements. Some dolls fetch hundreds of dollars, complete with documentation of their supernatural activities. Buyers hunt these collections like treasure, convinced they're purchasing genuine paranormal experiences. The antique shops feeding this market know exactly what collectors want. Well, apparently there's serious money in manufactured nightmares. 14. Authentic rocks from Mars don't just fall from the sky every day. The Zagami meteorite did exactly that, crashing into Nigeria in 1962 before making its way to eBay decades later. Someone actually paid $450,000 for this space rock. Museums had owned it previously, but collectors with deep pockets wanted their own piece of the red planet. Science enthusiasts compete fiercely for genuine meteorites, especially ones with documented origins like this Martian visitor. 15. A cornflake shaped exactly like Illinois sold for $1,350 on eBay. The buyer wasn't some random collector either, they planned to display it in a food museum. Think about that for a second. Someone woke up, poured cereal, and spotted their home state staring back at them. The fragile breakfast item made national headlines after the auction ended. Shipping something that delicate must have been a nightmare. One wrong move and Illinois becomes crumbs. But the seller managed it somehow. Food shaped like states is incredibly rare, which explains the price tag. Most people would have eaten it without thinking twice. This buyer saw dollar signs in their cereal bowl instead. 16. This handcrafted armor transforms any guinea pig into a medieval warrior. Complete with tiny helmets and chest plates, it's designed for comfort and epic photo shoots. The seller spent weeks perfecting each piece, testing it on their own pet. Animal lovers went wild for this unique accessory. The final bid hit hundreds of dollars, proving pet parents will pay serious money for creative costumes that make their furry friends internet famous. 17. Dried chicken claws might sound gross, but people actually buy these things online. The seller cleans them up and preserves them like little mummies. Some folks use them for weird folk magic rituals or just because they think they look cool. The prices depend on how big they are and how well they're preserved. It's basically taxidermy for people who want something really creepy on their shelf. The whole thing attracts collectors who love bizarre stuff that makes their friends go ooh when they visit. You'd be surprised how many people are into this kind of eerie collectible item. 18. Croatian pine cones sound innocent enough, right? Well, someone decided these particular specimens were worth listing online as rare native treasures. Bidders actually competed for tree droppings from another continent. The seller claimed these weren't just any pine cones, they were special Croatian varieties that couldn't be found elsewhere. Nature collectors bought into the story completely. Some bids reached $50 or more for what you could probably find in any European forest. Buyers demanded verification of the exact location and pine cone type before committing their money. The whole thing proves people will pay premium prices for anything labeled authentic and international. International plant sales happen frequently on auction sites, with sellers capitalizing on geographic mystique. What makes it funnier is that pine cones are literally designed by nature to travel and spread everywhere. 19. Math anxiety got you down? Someone figured out the perfect solution. Handmade charms promising to boost your math skills appeared on eBay, complete with detailed explanations of their supposed magical properties. The seller claimed these little trinkets could transform struggling students into calculation wizards overnight. Parents desperate to help their kids pass algebra tests started bidding frantically. Teachers bought them as classroom rewards, hoping for miracles. The charms looked innocent enough, yet in small beads and crystals arranged in patterns that supposedly aligned with mathematical energy. But here's the kicker: they actually sold for decent money. Students clutched them during exams, convinced these tiny talismans would unlock their numerical potential. The placebo effect worked wonders, apparently. Some buyers swore their grades improved after purchasing these mystical math boosters. Whether it was confidence or actual magic remains debatable. 20. Toilet paper tubes aren't just trash anymore. Someone's turning them into actual art and selling the creations online. We're talking about miniature castles, tiny rockets, and elaborate sculptures crafted from cardboard cylinders most people toss without thinking twice. The crafty sellers photograph their masterpieces from multiple angles, showing off intricate details that took hours to create. Buyers hunt for these eco-friendly pieces because they're conversation starters. Nothing says I'm environmentally conscious and quirky like displaying toilet roll art in your living room. The cheap materials don't hurt the wallet, but the creative labor drives up demand. Some pieces fetch surprising amounts when bidders compete for the most elaborate designs. 20. A seller on eBay claimed to have actual DNA samples from a mummified Yeti. The listing included what looked like official lab results and scientific documentation. Paranormal enthusiasts jumped at the chance to own potential proof of the legendary creature's existence. The samples sold for hundreds of dollars to buyers desperate for cryptid evidence. The authenticity was highly questionable, but that didn't stop curious bidders from competing fiercely for what might be the discovery of the century. 22. A seller posted a voodoo hex doll claiming it contained an actual curse. The listing came with warning labels about potential supernatural consequences. Some buyers purchased it specifically for magic rituals and spellcasting purposes. The auction highlighted spooky details like strange sounds and moving parts. Paranormal items like this always spark heated debate between believers and skeptics online. 23. A haunted toy clown sat innocently on someone's shelf until strange things started happening. The seller swore this wasn't just any ordinary carnival prize. Kids would wake up screaming after playing with it. Doors slammed shut on their own. The family dog refused to enter the same room. When the desperate owner finally listed it online, they included every creepy detail and warned potential buyers about the supernatural chaos they were inviting into their homes. The auction description read like a horror movie script, complete with timestamps of paranormal activity. Bidders didn't seem fazed by the warnings, though. The listing attracted hundreds of watchers within hours. People left comments sharing their own ghost stories and asking for more photos. Some collectors specialize in haunted items, believing they're getting authentic supernatural experiences along with their purchase. The final selling price reflected that demand. Horror enthusiasts and paranormal investigators competed fiercely for ownership rights. 24. Someone actually made a handbag out of roadkill and called it Poor Herman. The listing described it as a genuine animal remains fashion accessory that would make quite the conversation starter. Animal rights activists went ballistic in the comments section. But here's the thing. Morbid curiosity drove the bidding war. The seller marketed it as a one-of-a-kind piece that nobody else would ever own. Collectors of bizarre taxidermy items competed fiercely for this macabre purse. The final price hit several $100s, proving that controversy sells better than conventional marketing. The winner planned to display it as an art piece rather than actually carry it around town. 25. Mrs. Tina wasn't just any ordinary clown doll sitting on someone's dusty shelf. She came with baggage. Real baggage. The seller crafted an entire relationship backstory between her and another doll named Mr. Clappy, complete with their supposed romantic history and quirky personality traits that made buyers feel like they were adopting actual characters rather than purchasing simple toys. What made this auction particularly strange was how the seller treated these dolls like living beings. The listing described Mrs. Tina's preferences for certain rooms, her alleged dislike of loud music, and even her supposed jealousy issues with Mr. Clappy. Buyers weren't just getting a doll less, they were inheriting a soap opera. Then there's the fascinating psychology behind why people chase these narrative-driven haunted dolls. Some collectors actively seek entire families of related dolls, building elaborate display cases that honor the fictional relationships between characters. Mrs. Tina represented something bigger than herself. She was part of a universe that existed only in the seller's imagination, yet buyers paid real money to become part of that story. The auction attracted serious attention from themed haunted doll collectors who understood that finding complete couples like Mrs. Tina and Mr. Clappy was genuinely rare online. Most haunted dolls get sold individually, leaving their supposed relationships broken forever. 26. A pregnant woman decided her belly was prime advertising real estate. She auctioned off temporary tattoo space to the highest bidder. A company paid thousands for their logo placement during her final trimester. The unusual marketing stunt made headlines across the country. Buyers saw it as creative promotional opportunity that guaranteed attention. 27. A man in Australia decided his entire life wasn't working out. So he did what any reasonable person would do. He put everything up for auction. His name, job, friends, apartment lease, and even his scheduled plans for the next few months. The winning bidder paid $7,500 to literally step into someone else's existence. The seller threw in his phone contacts, work relationships, and social commitments. The buyer could show up at his workplace, meet his friends, and basically become him overnight. Talk about the ultimate fresh start package. 28. A small vial of water supposedly from Elvis Presley's swimming pool sold for hundreds of dollars on eBay. The seller claimed they had access to Graceland's pool area years ago. Buyers didn't seem to care about proving authenticity. They just wanted a piece of the king's legacy, even if it was just chlorinated pool water. 29. A seller decided the world needed a complete tooth fairy catching kit. Not just any ordinary kit, mind you. This came with specialized jars, detailed instruction guides, and what they called fairy bait. Parents bought these whimsical sets, thinking their kids would love the magic. The timing mattered too. Sales always peaked right before major holidays, when tooth-losing season hit its stride. Fantasy items like this keep trending because adults secretly want to believe in magic just as much as their children do. 30. Original Hollywood sign letters don't show up on eBay every day. When they do, collectors go absolutely wild. These aren't replicas or knockoffs. We're talking about actual pieces of the iconic white letters that sat on those hills for decades. The authenticity documentation alone reads like a museum catalog. Buyers frame individual letter fragments like they're ancient artifacts. Some pieces sell for thousands, especially if they're from famous letters like the H or O. The irony, most people driving past never realized those letters were slowly deteriorating and getting replaced. Now chunks of Hollywood history sit in living rooms across America, complete with certificates proving they once spelled out the Dream Factory's name. 31. A potato that looks like a famous actor sounds ridiculous, but someone paid real money for it. The seller took photos from multiple angles, comparing the spud to publicity shots. They even included a certificate of resemblance with the sale. Food oddities like this pop up regularly on auction sites, attracting fans who want the strangest possible memorabilia. The winning bid? Over $20 for a vegetable that would normally cost pennies. Celebrity resemblance items create their own weird market category. Buyers frame photos of their purchase next to the real celebrity for comparison. Some sellers get creative with lighting to make the resemblance more obvious. The potato probably rotted within weeks, but the bragging rights lasted forever. 32. A piece of toast became political history when it appeared at a campaign rally and was later sold online. The seller claimed this wasn't just any breakfast bread, it had witnessed democracy in action. Bidders went wild for the carb-based memorabilia. Political junkies compete fiercely for authentic campaign items, even edible ones. The toast sold for hundreds, with proceeds going to charity. Photos from the event proved its authenticity. Campaign staff verified the bread's presence at the podium. History buffs treasure these unusual artifacts from major political moments. 33. Pet rocks were a massive fad in the 1970s, but some sellers brought them back with a twist. They handcraft these rocks and give each one a unique personality. The listings include made-up birth certificates and detailed backstories. Kids love them, but adults buy them too for the nostalgia. One seller even claimed their rock was trained to sit and stay, which technically isn't wrong since rocks don't move anyway. The charm lies in the absurdity. You're paying for imagination more than the actual rock. 34. A woman in Florida decided to auction off something that doesn't technically exist. Her imaginary friend from childhood, named Bobby, was up for grabs on eBay. The listing included Bobby's complete personality profile, his favorite activities, and even his imaginary pet hamster. She wrote a 3-page backstory explaining how Bobby helped her through tough times as a kid, complete with detailed descriptions of their adventures together. The winning bidder paid $127 for the rights to Bobby, along with a handwritten certificate of ownership transfer. What makes this even stranger? The buyer immediately started creating artwork featuring Bobby and launched a small comic series about him. People began bidding on imaginary friends regularly after this sale went viral, with some reaching prices over $300. 35. Someone actually paid money for a jar of celebrity breath. Not kidding. The seller claimed they captured an actor's exhale in a sealed container, complete with a certificate of authenticity. They even included a photo showing the moment of breathing in. The winning bid? Under $100. But here's the thing that gets me. People lined up to bid on invisible air just because it supposedly came from someone famous. The jar looked completely ordinary, like something you'd store pickles in. Yet buyers treated it like precious cargo. Makes you wonder what else people will pay for if you slap a celebrity name on it. The seller probably laughed all the way to the bank, knowing they'd bottled regular air and called it premium breath. Creative ideas really do drive sales, even when the product is literally nothing but air molecules. 36. A woman's perfect wedding day turned into a nightmare when her fiancé called off the engagement just weeks before the ceremony. But instead of letting the $2,000 designer dress collect dust in her closet, she decided to sell it online. The listing wasn't just about the dress though. She included the full heartbreaking story of how her relationship fell apart, complete with details about discovering his affair and the dramatic confrontation that followed. Buyers weren't just purchasing a wedding gown anymore, they were getting a piece of someone's broken dreams, wrapped in silk and lace. The emotional backstory made the dress more valuable than its original price tag suggested. Wedding dress resales happen constantly on auction sites, but the ones with compelling stories behind them always attract the most attention and highest bids from bargain hunters. 37. Movie studios generate thousands of prop items during production, but most end up in storage or trash. These particular shoes were crafted for a major Hollywood film, but never made it onto the actor's feet. The costume department confirmed they remained untouched throughout filming. When the production wrapped, a crew member quietly acquired them through legitimate channels. Authentication becomes crucial for movie memorabilia buyers. The seller provided detailed provenance documentation, including photos from the set and testimony from wardrobe staff. Film collectors understand that unworn items often hold more value than used props because they represent pure potential rather than screen time. The shoes came with their original tags still attached. Bidding started modestly but climbed as collectors recognized the rarity. Movie prop auctions can be unpredictable. Sometimes a major hero's costume sells for less than a background item with an interesting story. These shoes attracted attention because the film became a cultural phenomenon years after release. The winning bid reflected both the movie's popularity and the item's pristine condition, proving that sometimes the unused becomes more valuable than the used. 38. Exotic insect collections show up on eBay more often than you'd think. Scientists, teachers, and curious collectors hunt for rare beetles, butterflies, and specimens from around the world. These kits usually come with display boxes and identification labels. Prices jump based on how rare the bugs are. International shipping gets tricky though. Since many countries restrict importing live or dead insects, some sellers offer complete educational sets perfect for biology classes. 39. Someone built a remote control the size of a human being, not a toy version or a miniature replica. A full-sized, working remote that actually controls your TV. The thing stands about 6 feet tall and weighs probably 50 pounds. You need both hands just to press the volume button. The creator listed it on eBay after neighbors started complaining about the noise coming from their garage workshop. Apparently, building giant electronics requires a lot of hammering and drilling at odd hours. Tech blogs picked up the story when the auction went live. The listing included photos of the massive remote next to a regular one for comparison. The difference was ridiculous. Gadget enthusiasts and engineering students started bidding immediately. Some wanted it for their dorm rooms. Others planned to use it as a conversation piece in their living rooms. The winning bidder paid several $100s for what basically amounts to an oversized novelty item. But here's the thing that makes it brilliant. It actually works better than most regular remotes. The buttons are so big you can't miss them in the dark. No more fumbling around trying to find the right button while watching movies. The range is incredible too. Probably because of the massive internal components, makes you wonder why manufacturers don't think bigger sometimes. 40. Extreme sports equipment that helps someone break a Guinness World Record doesn't just sit in storage collecting dust. Someone decides to auction it off, complete with official documentation proving its record-breaking history. The winning bidder gets bragging rights to owning gear that made actual history. Museums sometimes compete with private collectors for these pieces. When the equipment comes autographed by the athlete who used it, prices can easily break the $500 mark. Sports fanatics love having tangible proof of human achievement sitting in their living rooms. 41. Lucky rabbits' feet have been sold online for decades, but some collections tell wild stories. One seller claimed their colorful keychain feet came from rabbits that lived near a magic spring in the 1950s. Buyers chased nostalgia and superstition, bidding hundreds for vintage sets. The ethics sparked heated debates among shoppers. 42. A celebrity-signed toilet seat sold at auction for hundreds of dollars after a famous singer autographed bathroom gear for charity. The provenance documentation increased its value significantly among collectors. Most similar items reach hundreds in competitive bidding wars. This unique collector's item proves that celebrities can literally put their signature on anything, and fans will pay premium prices for the most unexpected memorabilia. 43. This baseball wasn't just any ordinary baseball used in a minor league game. Something completely unexpected happened during the 7th inning that turned this simple piece of sporting equipment into a collector's dream. The batter swung hard, missed completely, but somehow the ball ricocheted off 3 different surfaces before landing in a vendor's hot dog cart. The whole thing was caught on video by multiple fans in the stands. Now that same baseball, mustard stains and all, sits in someone's display case after they paid serious money for it. Sports memorabilia collectors went wild bidding on this piece of baseball history. The seller included the video footage as proof of the bizarre incident. Makes you wonder what other random game moments could become valuable collectibles. 44. The seller built what they called a high-tech alien alarm system using basic electronics and a lot of imagination. This homemade UFO detector promised to alert buyers whenever extraterrestrial visitors came within range. The device looked like a mix between a radio and a science fair project gone wrong. Conspiracy theorists and paranormal enthusiasts flocked to the auction, driving bids between $50 and $200. The listing included detailed instructions that read more like science fiction than actual technical documentation. But here's the thing. Buyers didn't really care if it worked. They wanted to believe it might. The seller claimed extensive testing in their backyard, complete with anomalous readings during late-night hours. Some bidders admitted they planned to use it as a conversation starter at parties. Others genuinely hoped to catch evidence of alien activity. The winning bidder left feedback saying the device made interesting beeping sounds, though no aliens were detected yet. Makes you wonder what people will pay for hope, right? 45. This father decided his mustache hair was worth selling. Not the whole mustache, mind you, just the trimmed bits he collected in an envelope. The listing promised a genuine family keepsake, along with a handwritten note explaining the hair's origin. Buyers treated it as the ultimate gag gift. Someone actually paid money for facial hair clippings. The envelope came with a certificate of authenticity, because apparently even mustache hair needs proper documentation these days. Well, at least the buyer got a good story out of it. 46. This handmade treasure map came with everything you'd expect from a proper pirate adventure. The seller crafted mysterious codes, aged parchment, and even included a detailed backstory about buried gold. Buyers weren't just purchasing paper mentorists, they were buying into childhood dreams of adventure and mystery. The auction description promised authentic-looking weathering techniques and cryptic symbols that would challenge any wannabe treasure hunter. Some listings even included fake doubloons or compass pieces to complete the fantasy. What drives someone to bid hundreds on imaginary treasure? Maybe it's the same impulse that makes us buy lottery tickets or dream about finding hidden riches in our backyard. 47. A hobbyist crashed his homemade UFO model in his backyard and decided to sell the wreckage on eBay. The twisted metal pieces and broken plastic came with witness photos showing the dramatic crash site. His listing included an imaginative backstory about mysterious circumstances surrounding the incident. Sci-fi fans gobbled up these fragments, paying decent money for what was essentially broken toy parts. The seller made sure to clarify these weren't connected to any real UFO sightings, but that didn't stop buyers from treating each piece like authentic alien technology. Some even displayed the fragments in shadow boxes with dramatic lighting. The auction proved that creative storytelling could turn literal garbage into treasure. Well, at least someone's trash became another person's conversation starter. 48. A signed banana peel sounds ridiculous until you realize someone actually paid money for it. The comedian who autographed this piece of fruit waste probably never imagined it would become someone's prized possession. Comedy fans really will buy anything if their favorite performer touched it, even garbage. The buyer had to arrange super fast shipping before the peel turned completely black and disgusting. Makes you wonder what other weird items comedians could auction off after their shows. Used tissues? Chewed gum? The possibilities are endless and equally bizarre. 49. Manufacturing mistakes usually end up in the trash, but not this cereal box. A printing error turned what should have been ordinary breakfast packaging into collector gold. The typo was so obvious that quality control should have caught it immediately. Instead, it made it to store shelves where eagle-eyed collectors spotted the mistake. Condition matters more than you'd think with error boxes. Creases, tears, or faded colors can cut the value in half. But a pristine misprint? That's where the real money lives. Some error boxes have sold for hundreds of dollars, proving that sometimes the biggest mistakes become the most valuable finds. Well, at least someone's benefiting from corporate slip-ups. E50. Custom snow globes don't just show falling snow anymore. One seller created globes featuring bizarre historical moments like the Great Molasses Flood of 19. Another depicted the time a circus elephant got stuck in a small town's main street. Buyers love these weird historical snapshots trapped in glass. Each globe comes with a detailed story card explaining the oddball event. During holidays, demand skyrockets as people hunt for conversation starters that aren't your typical winter wonderland scenes. 51. Someone actually built a working alien autopsy board game and tried to sell the prototype on eBay. Not the kind you'd find at Target, mind you. This was a hand-assembled demo featuring tiny alien bodies, surgical tools, and instruction cards written in Comic Sans font. The creator photographed every piece for authenticity, proving this wasn't some mass-produced knockoff. Board game collectors went wild for it. Prototype games always fetch premium bids because they're one-of-a-kind items that never made it to store shelves. The layout included everything from miniature scalpels to alien organ cards. Well, turns out there's a whole community of people who collect unreleased board games. They hunt down prototypes from game designers who never got their ideas published. This particular auction attracted both board game fanatics and UFO enthusiasts. The winning bidder probably displayed it next to their collection of Monopoly variants and conspiracy theory books. 52. This vintage prosthetic arm wasn't just any medical device, it was a piece of history with character. The seller described its craftsmanship in detail, noting the leather straps and mechanical joints that made it functional decades ago. Museums showed interest immediately. The listing attracted collectors of medical antiques and historians studying assistive technology. What made this auction special was the personal touch. The original user had actually signed it before passing away. The signature added authentication and emotional value that drove bidding higher than expected. Buyers weren't just purchasing old equipment, they were investing in human stories and medical evolution. 53. This homemade astronaut costume wasn't your typical Halloween getup. The seller spent months crafting an authentic-looking spacesuit complete with LED lights, oxygen tanks, and reflective visor. After winning first place at a local costume contest, they decided to auction it off. The detailed craftsmanship attracted serious sci-fi fans who appreciated the meticulous attention to detail. Bidders loved how it looked more realistic than store-bought versions. The final price reflected hours of creative work and premium materials used in construction. 54. These tiny presidential busts weren't your average garage sale find. Someone took the time to carve each commander-in-chief with meticulous detail, complete with engraved plaques. Teachers loved them for history lessons. Collectors went wild during election years. The seller probably never expected their weekend craft project to become a bidding war between educators and political memorabilia fanatics. 55. A seller claimed they found a potato chip that looked exactly like Elvis Presley's famous profile. The auction included photos from 2 different angles to prove the resemblance. Music collectors went wild for this bizarre piece of food memorabilia. Someone actually paid hundreds of dollars for what was basically a snack. The seller included detailed provenance documentation, treating the chip like a precious artifact. Buyers were drawn to the novelty of owning something so ridiculous yet somehow meaningful to Elvis fans. The chip had to be carefully preserved and shipped to avoid crumbling. Food oddities like this create massive bidding wars among collectors who chase the strangest celebrity connections. Makes you wonder what other snacks might be hiding famous faces. Right. 56. A 4-leaf clover trapped in clear acrylic became someone's lucky charm purchase on eBay. The seller claimed this natural wonder would bring fortune to whoever owned it. Bidding stayed reasonable, with most buyers paying under $20. Graduation season drives sales higher. Students and parents chase these symbols of good luck before major exams or life changes. The acrylic preserves the delicate leaves perfectly. Some sellers include certificates of authenticity, proving the clover's genuine 4-leaf status. Buyers often gift these to friends facing challenges. The simple charm represents hope in a small, portable package. Natural rarities always find eager collectors online. 57. Clone cat fur sample listings pop up more often than you'd expect on auction sites. Sellers preserve their beloved pet's fur in small vials, claiming it could be used for future cloning technology. The science sounds sketchy, but grieving pet owners don't care about the details. They're buying hope in a jar. Bidding wars break out between people who've lost their furry companions and genuinely believe technology will bring them back someday. Most samples sell for under $50, though rare breed fur commands higher prices. The sellers usually include touching stories about their cats, complete with photos and personality descriptions. What's fascinating is how many buyers actually exist for this market. Some claim they're purchasing for legitimate scientific research, while others admit they just want a unique keepsake. The whole thing feels like emotional manipulation, but the demand keeps growing. Pet cloning companies do exist, though they charge tens of thousands and rarely deliver the exact same personality. Still, desperate cat lovers keep buying these fur samples, treating them like lottery tickets to resurrection. 58. Miniature landmarks made at home sound harmless enough, right? Well, someone decided to auction off tiny replicas of famous monuments they'd crafted in their garage. These weren't your average tourist shop trinkets. The seller had painstakingly recreated everything from the Eiffel Tower to Mount Rushmore using random materials like Lego bricks, clay, and even old bottle caps. Each piece came with a detailed backstory about the construction process. Tourists and collectors couldn't resist bidding. But here's where it gets interesting. Some buyers specifically hunted for the mistake builds. You know, the Statue of Liberty with 3 arms or a leaning Tower of Pisa that leaned the wrong way. These flawed masterpieces actually fetched higher prices than the accurate ones. Makes sense, right? Who wants perfection when you can own a wonderfully wrong Washington monument? 59. The seller claimed they invented special bread mold patterns that could create designer loaves at home. These weren't your typical boring rectangular shapes either. We're talking about star patterns, heart shapes, even intricate geometric designs that would make your morning toast look like edible art. Home bakers went crazy bidding on these quirky kitchen innovations, turning basic bread into conversation pieces. 60 ships and bottles have fascinated people for centuries, but this particular eBay auction took craftsmanship to another level. The seller spent months building an intricate pirate ship, complete with tiny cannons, detailed rigging, and even miniature crew members. The ocean scene included hand-painted waves and a setting sun backdrop. What made this piece special wasn't just the craftsmanship. The bottle itself was vintage, adding significant value to an already impressive creation. Nautical collectors went wild for this item, driving bids higher than anyone expected. The auction photos showed every angle, including close-ups of the ship's deck where you could see individual rope details. The seller included a time-lapse video of the construction process, proving the ship was actually built inside the bottle rather than inserted through some trick. Buyers appreciated this transparency. The final selling price reflected both the artistic skill and the hours of painstaking work involved in creating such a masterpiece. 61. Pet psychic readings sound ridiculous until you meet someone who swears their cat predicted 3 family deaths. This eBay voucher promised direct communication with your furry friend's deepest thoughts. The seller claimed 15 years of animal telepathy experience. Buyers reported shocking accuracy about their pets' hidden fears, favorite hiding spots, and bathroom preferences. No actual item gets shipped, just a scheduled phone call where someone interprets your dog's alleged mental messages. 62. Real baby teeth in a display box sounds like something from a horror movie, but people actually buy this stuff. The sellers don't just throw random teeth in there either. They provide detailed stories behind each tooth, where it came from, how old the kid was when it fell out. Sometimes they even include the date it happened. Buyers are fascinated by these oddities, and it's become surprisingly popular for science education. Teachers use them to explain dental development to students. But here's where it gets weird. Some collectors just want them because they're bizarre. The ethical questions pop up sometimes. People debate whether selling baby teeth crosses a line. Most sellers claim the teeth came from their own kids or family members. The prices vary wildly depending on the condition and how many teeth are included. Some collections sell for under $20. Others reach hundreds if they're particularly unique or well-preserved. Makes you wonder what other childhood keepsakes people are willing to auction off. 63. Halloween costumes are everywhere these days, but one seller decided their monster creation deserved special attention. This wasn't your typical store-bought vampire cape or zombie mask. The costume featured hand-sewn scales, custom LED lighting, and articulated joints that moved realistically. After winning first place at a local festival, the creator put it up for auction. The listing included photos from the event, detailed shots of the intricate craftsmanship, and even a video demonstration of the moving parts. Buyers weren't just getting a costume, they were getting a wearable work of art. The materials alone told quite a story. Real leather, professional-grade foam latex, and electronics that took months to perfect. Makes sense why the bidding got so competitive, right? The final price reflected what people will pay for true creativity and craftsmanship in the costume world. 64. Personal milestone celebration kits sound simple enough until you realize someone's actually making good money selling party supplies for life's weirdest moments. These aren't your typical birthday decorations. We're talking custom kits for celebrating things like surviving your first colonoscopy or finally paying off student loans. The seller packages themed decorations, balloons, and even suggested party games around these unconventional milestones. Party planners discovered these kits and started ordering them for clients who wanted something different from the standard celebration fare. The auctions typically spike right before major holidays when people get creative about their gatherings. But here's the thing that makes these kits special. They acknowledge life's actual victories instead of just the hallmark moments. Buyers report using them for everything from divorce parties to empty nest celebrations. The kits include instruction cards for hosting these unique events, complete with conversation starters and activity suggestions. 65. Political campaign confetti doesn't sound particularly valuable, right? Well, someone clearly didn't get that memo. Real confetti from presidential election night celebrations has been sold on eBay, complete with documentation proving its authentic source. The seller provided photos from the actual victory party, showing the exact moment when this colorful paper rained down on cheering supporters. Buyers of political memorabilia apparently have quite specific tastes. They're willing to pay premium prices for tiny pieces of history that most people would sweep up and throw away. The confetti often gets listed right before major inaugurations, when political fever runs highest. Each piece comes with a story about which candidate won, which state it fell in, and sometimes even which television network covered the event. It's basically buying a microscopic piece of democracy in action. The whole thing proves that literally anything can become collectible if it has the right backstory attached. 66. Famous dinners leave behind more than memories. Some enterprising sellers actually preserve leftover food from historic events and auction them off. A piece of cake from a presidential inauguration sold for $200. Wedding cake crumbs from celebrity marriages fetch even higher prices. Buyers want tangible connections to history, no matter how strange. These edible artifacts become conversation pieces stored in freezers like tiny time capsules. The more famous the dinner, the higher the bid. One seller even auctioned breadcrumbs from a Nobel Prize ceremony. Authentication involves photos, event tickets, and detailed stories. It's food preservation meets historical collecting in the most unexpected way. 67. Real dinosaur bone fragments hit eBay with certificates of authenticity, and amateur paleontologists go wild. These aren't museum pieces. They're genuine fossil chips from actual dig sites. Sellers include detailed stories about discovery locations and geological eras. Some states regulate these sales, but buyers still hunt for prehistoric treasures. Size and age determine the final price, with larger specimens fetching thousands. 68. A shark tooth might seem ordinary until you learn a celebrity found it. Suddenly, that same piece of ancient ocean becomes worth hundreds of dollars. The story behind the discovery transforms everything. Buyers aren't just purchasing fossilized calcium, they're buying a connection to fame. Celebrity provenance makes even the smallest artifacts feel monumental and collectible. 69. Someone took an old bathtub and turned it into a standing desk. Yeah, you read that right. They cut it, reinforced it, and created the world's most unusual workspace. The seller detailed every step of the conversion process in their listing. Home office enthusiasts went wild for this eco-friendly upcycled furniture piece. Quirky doesn't even begin to cover it. 70. Someone actually paid money for a personalized message from a historical figure impersonator. The seller dressed up as famous people from history and delivered custom speeches. Want Abraham Lincoln to wish your mom happy birthday? Done. Need Napoleon to motivate your sales team? Easy money. The listing offered multiple character options, and buyers could choose between a recorded video message or a live phone call. One customer paid extra to have Thomas Jefferson explain why pineapple belongs on pizza. The impersonator stayed in character the entire time, using historically accurate speech patterns and references. 71. An authentic key from an abandoned prison cell sold on eBay for hundreds of dollars. The seller provided detailed photos of the original penitentiary where it came from. History buffs competed fiercely in the auction, driving up the price. The listing verified the prison had been permanently closed before any keys were sold. Legal documentation proved the sale was completely legitimate and above board. 72. Comic book collectors live in a world where condition means everything. A tiny crease can slash thousands off value. But here's what gets crazy. Some comics become legendary, not because they're perfect, but because they're incredibly rare. This particular comic book wasn't just rare though, it was practically extinct. The seller had stumbled upon what collectors call a holy grail, an out-of-print issue that most people assumed was lost forever. The bidding war that followed made headlines in collector circles, with buyers throwing serious money at what was essentially colored paper and ink. 73. Your grandmother's recipe box might be worth more than you think. One seller discovered that handwritten family recipes from decades past created a bidding frenzy online. These weren't just any recipes, though. We're talking about genuine century-old instructions for forgotten dishes, complete with faded ink and yellowed paper edges. The winning bidder paid serious money for digitized copies of original family recipes dating back generations. What makes these so valuable? Food historians and cooking enthusiasts hunt for authentic period recipes that capture how people actually cooked before modern conveniences. The seller's great-grandmother's handwritten notes about a pinch of this and cook until done became historical treasures. But here's the weird part. Buyers weren't just getting recipes. They received stories, family traditions, and cooking secrets passed down through generations. One recipe included a note about hiding sugar during wartime rationing. Another detailed how to make bread without modern measuring tools. The auction proved that nostalgia has serious market value. Food lovers paid premium prices for authenticity they couldn't find in modern cookbooks. These handwritten gems offered something no printed recipe could deliver, a genuine connection to the past through the universal language of cooking and family tradition. 74. Water blessed by ancient rituals, guaranteed to ward off evil spirits. That's what the seller promised anyway. The auction description read like something from a medieval fantasy novel, complete with warnings about proper storage and handling instructions. Buyers didn't seem to care about the questionable authenticity. They just wanted protection from whatever supernatural forces might be lurking around their homes. The timing was perfect too. Halloween season always brings out the paranormal shoppers. Some bid seriously, others just for laughs. But here's the thing that gets me. The seller actually provided a money-back guarantee if the water failed to repel any documented evil encounters. Talk about confidence in your product. Critics called it ridiculous, but the winning bidder paid real money for what amounted to tap water in a fancy bottle. 75. Celebrity underwear auctions happen more often than you'd think. Famous actors, musicians, and athletes regularly donate their personal garments to charity events or sell them directly to fans. The authenticity becomes crucial here. Buyers demand proof photos showing the celebrity actually wearing or signing the item. Without solid verification, even the most expensive underwear falls flat in bidding wars. Charity auctions drive the highest prices because buyers feel good about their purchase serving a noble cause. Regular fan auctions still attract serious money, but the amounts tend to be lower. The celebrity's current fame level directly impacts the final sale price. A declining star's underwear might fetch $20 while an A-lister's could reach thousands. Well, the strangest part isn't the selling itself. It's how normal this has become in celebrity culture. Social media has made stars more accessible, and fans crave increasingly personal connections. Owning something that intimate creates an imaginary bond between fan and celebrity. The psychology behind these purchases reveals our deep need for connection with people we admire but will likely never meet. Then there's the practical side. These items require special handling and shipping. Sellers must package everything discreetly and ensure proper documentation accompanies each sale. Some celebrities even provide certificates of authenticity, complete with photos and signatures. The whole process has become surprisingly professional, turning personal garments into legitimate collectible merchandise that commands real respect in auction houses worldwide. 76. License plates tell stories nobody thinks about. Some guy in Montana paid $2,100 for beef because his ranch needed the perfect advertisement rolling down highways. Another collector dropped $1,800 on a plate reading "Oops" from someone's divorce settlement auction. The weirdest part, prison-made plates from the 1940s now sell for thousands. Collectors hunt these metal rectangles like treasure. One woman owns 847 different state variations, each with backstories ranging from celebrity ownership to crime scene evidence. The hobby exploded when people realized old vanity plates become historical artifacts. Today's joke becomes tomorrow's museum piece, apparently. 77. NASA doesn't just throw away space shuttle tiles after missions. When they do get replaced, some fragments make their way to auction sites with proper documentation. These aren't fake replicas or movie props. We're talking about actual pieces that protected astronauts during re-entry at thousands of degrees. The tiles are made from ultra-pure silica fibers that can withstand extreme temperatures. Each piece comes with certificates proving its authenticity and mission details. Collectors include former astronauts, space museums, and regular people obsessed with space exploration. The government has to approve these sales since they involve genuine NASA property. Prices can reach several $1,000s for larger pieces, but here's what makes it wild. You're literally buying something that traveled to space and back. These tiles absorbed the heat of re-entry, protected human lives, and witnessed Earth from orbit. Some buyers frame them as conversation pieces. Others donate them to schools for science education. The sellers often include mission patches and detailed histories of which shuttle carried the tile and when. 78. A seller on eBay decided to auction off synthetic unicorn hair samples, complete with shimmering rainbow colors and an official-looking certificate of authenticity. The listing carefully noted that these mystical strands were completely fake. But here's the weird part. People actually bid on them anyway. Parents bought them for their kids' costume boxes, cosplayers used them for elaborate fantasy outfits, and some collectors just wanted the novelty factor. The seller included detailed unicorn facts in the description, like their preferred diet of sparkles and moonbeams. Makes sense, right? Well, not really, but buyers didn't seem to care about logic when it came to owning a piece of mythical creature history. The auction attracted dozens of watchers who treated it like a real treasure hunt. Some bidders even left reviews saying the hair was exactly as magical as advertised, despite knowing it came from a craft store. The seller made sure to declare the item as synthetic multiple times throughout the listing to avoid any legal issues with false advertising. 79. Someone found this mysterious VHS tape tucked away in their attic, completely unopened and covered in decades of dust. Nobody knows what's on it. The seller admits they're too scared to find out what might be recorded on this ancient piece of media. The listing promises absolutely no guarantees about content, condition, or whether the tape even plays anymore. Bidders are essentially buying a complete mystery wrapped in plastic casing. Well, that's exactly what makes it irresistible to certain buyers. The auction description reads like a horror movie plot, complete with warnings about unknown origins. Nostalgia hunters and mystery lovers can't resist the urge to solve this puzzle. Some bidders probably hope it contains lost family memories or rare footage. Others might be expecting something more sinister lurking on those magnetic strips. The seller's reluctance to test the tape only adds to its mystique and drives up interest among curious collectors. 80. A napkin from a movie set lunch might sound worthless, but collectors disagree. When someone visited a film set and grabbed an autograph on their napkin during catering, they created instant memorabilia. The seller included proof photos showing the star actually signing it. These behind-the-scenes items usually sell for under $50. Movie fans love owning something authentic from their favorite films, even if it's just a paper napkin. The story behind how it was obtained matters more than the napkin itself. Well, wouldn't you want a piece of movie history sitting in your kitchen drawer? 81. Building a robot that delivers snacks sounds like something from a sci-fi movie, right? Well, one creative seller actually pulled it off in their garage. This homemade contraption could roll around the house carrying chips, drinks, and whatever else you needed for movie night. The engineering wasn't professional grade, but it worked. The seller included step-by-step instructions, complete with a shopping list for parts you could find at any electronics store. What made this auction special was the demo video showing the robot navigating around furniture and stopping at voice commands. Buyers weren't just getting a quirky gadget, they were getting a conversation starter that could actually function at parties. The winning bidder planned to modify it for outdoor barbecues. Some people who lost the auction asked the seller to build custom versions, turning a one-time sale into a small business opportunity. 82. Rock stars destroy guitars all the time. But this wasn't just any smashed instrument. This broken guitar came from a famous on-stage performance, where the musician literally demolished it in front of thousands of screaming fans. The seller somehow collected every single piece after the show ended. Music fans went absolutely crazy bidding on these authentic fragments. Only verified concert wrecks actually fetch those ridiculously high prices that make headlines. 83. Artists spend years perfecting their craft with their dominant hand. But what happens when someone deliberately uses their weaker hand instead? One seller decided to find out by drawing a self-portrait with their non-dominant hand. The result was wonderfully wonky. Crooked lines, uneven features, and a charm that polished art sometimes lacks. They listed it online with photos showing the artistic challenge in action. Art lovers couldn't resist the humor and authenticity. The imperfect masterpiece attracted quirky buyers who appreciated the honest attempt over technical perfection. Young artists especially connected with the experimental spirit behind it. 84. Fake beards aren't just for Halloween anymore. One seller crafted an entire collection of handmade facial hair that would make even Santa jealous. The listing showed detailed photos of the seller modeling each beard style. From wild mountain man to sophisticated gentleman, these weren't your average costume shop knockoffs. Made with real materials and surprising attention to detail. Buyers included theater actors needing convincing disguises and pranksters planning elaborate jokes. Some collectors wanted complete sets for their costume parties. The auction descriptions read like beard reviews, detailing comfort levels and how realistic each piece looked. Well, turns out there's a thriving market for quality fake facial hair. The seller even included care instructions for maintaining the beards between uses. 85. Kids in the 1960s had the coolest wind-up toys. These weren't your basic plastic junk from today. We're talking about real tin masterpieces that clicked and whirred across kitchen floors. One seller decided to auction off their entire collection from that golden era. The bidding war was absolutely insane. Collectors threw serious money at working robots, spinning tops, and mechanical animals. Some of these little metal marvels sold for hundreds of dollars each. The funny thing, most of them probably cost under $1 when they were brand new. But that's the magic of nostalgia mixed with scarcity. When something becomes rare enough, people will pay almost anything to own a piece of their childhood again. 86. Custom jigsaw puzzles featuring someone's pet might sound normal until you realize people are buying puzzles of complete strangers' animals. One seller turned their golden retriever into a 500-piece puzzle and sold it for $30. The buyer had never met the dog, they just wanted to spend hours assembling a random pet's face. Pet puzzle sales are booming because apparently we'll solve anyone's furry friend. 87. Board games with printing mistakes shouldn't be worth much, right? Well, collectors disagree completely. When manufacturers mess up during production, they accidentally create some of the most valuable items on the market. This particular board game had several pieces printed upside down and backwards. The seller noticed the errors immediately after opening the box. Instead of returning it to the store, they decided to list it online. The auction description highlighted every single misprint with detailed photos. Collectors went absolutely crazy bidding on it. These manufacturing errors happen maybe once in every 1,000 games produced. The final selling price reached double what a perfect copy would cost. Most games like this sell within hours of being listed. 88. A single comic book page, torn from its binding and signed by a legendary illustrator, can spark bidding wars that would make Wall Street traders jealous. These aren't complete comics we're talking about, just one page. One beautiful hand-drawn panel featuring a superhero mid-flight or a villain's sinister grin. The artist's signature sits right there on the artwork, making it worth more than most people's monthly salary. Comic collectors know the real treasure isn't always the full story. Sometimes it's just one perfect moment captured in ink and brought to life by a master's pen. 89. McDonald's wrappers from 1984 shouldn't be worth anything, right? Well, collectors paid hundreds for vintage Big Mac containers and old Happy Meal boxes. These aren't just trash, they're time capsules. One seller auctioned a complete set of McDLT packaging for $300. The buyer wanted to display them in a fast food museum. The nostalgic value of childhood memories wrapped in colorful cardboard apparently never expires. Some wrappers still had that distinct McDonald's smell after decades in storage. 90. Computer mice shaped like cheese wheels might sound ridiculous, but someone actually built one that worked perfectly. The seller crafted this novelty tech gadget by hand, complete with scroll wheel and left-right click buttons. Photos showed it plugged into a laptop, cursor moving smoothly across the screen. Buyers had to verify their computer's compatibility before bidding. The listing went viral on tech blogs, with people sharing screenshots and laughing at the absurdity. But here's the thing, it wasn't just a joke. The mouse functioned exactly like any regular computer mouse, just with a cheese-themed design that made office work slightly more entertaining. Tech enthusiasts competed for this one-of-a-kind gadget, driving the price higher than anyone expected. The winner probably got the most interesting desk accessory in their entire office building. Makes you wonder what other everyday objects could get the novelty treatment, right? 91. Trading cards have their own weird world of mistakes and collector obsessions. One seller discovered something special in their old collection, loaned us a card with the company logo printed completely upside down. The error happened during manufacturing, making it incredibly rare. Collectors went crazy bidding on it because printing mistakes like this almost never make it past quality control. The final price shocked everyone involved in the auction. 92. Vintage soda cans from decades past sell for surprising amounts online, especially when they feature flavors that sound completely insane. We're talking about sodas like bacon-flavored cola from the 1970s or pickle-flavored fizz from the 1980s. Collectors hunt these down like treasure. The weirder the flavor, the higher the price. Unopened cans command the biggest bids because they're basically time capsules of questionable taste decisions. One bacon soda can sold for over $200. The listing included close-up photos of the faded label and dented corners. But here's what makes it valuable: these weren't popular when they first came out. Most people threw them away after one sip. Now those same failures are collector gold. 93. A seller once auctioned their pet's autograph. Not kidding. They pressed their dog's paw onto an ink pad, then stamped it on paper. The listing called it a genuine paw print signature with photo proof of the signing ceremony. Someone actually bought this furry autograph for $23. Animal lovers will bid on anything these days, apparently. 94. A famous paleontologist walked into a toy store, spotted a plastic T-Rex, and decided to sign it. That's exactly what happened when Dr. Sarah Chen autographed a dinosaur action figure at a science museum event. The seller was there with their kid, got the signature, and thought, why not auction this? The bidding started at $5. Within hours it hit $50. Science fans went wild for this weird combination of childhood nostalgia and academic credibility. The winning bid reached $127, not bad for a $10 toy. But here's the kicker: the buyer wasn't even a paleontology student. They collected signed toys from any expert in their field. Chess masters signing chess sets, astronomers signing telescope models, you name it. The auction photos showed Dr. Chen actually holding the dinosaur, which proved authenticity. Makes sense, right? People love stories behind their purchases more than the items themselves. 95. Manufacturing errors usually mean disaster for companies. But in the collector world, they're pure gold. This uncut sheet of rare stickers never made it through the normal cutting process, leaving buyers with an entire pristine sheet instead of individual pieces. The seller discovered it tucked away in old inventory, still wrapped in protective plastic. Collectors went wild bidding on it because finding uncut sheets is like striking oil. These sheets show the original printing alignment, color registration marks, and sometimes even test prints that regular consumers never see. The winning bid hit several $100s for what started as a few cents worth of stickers. Why do people pay so much for printing mistakes? Because rarity drives everything in collecting, and nothing's rarer than something that wasn't supposed to exist in the first place. 96. A seller on eBay decided to auction off handmade alien plushies, but these weren't your typical stuffed animals. Each one came with its own certificate of authenticity and detailed biography explaining the alien's home planet, favorite foods, and personality quirks. The listings read like dating profiles for extraterrestrials. Buyers included sci-fi enthusiasts and parents looking for unique gifts. Auctions typically saw increased activity around Halloween when people embraced the spooky and supernatural. The seller's creative backstories made each plushie feel special, turning simple crafts into collectible characters with rich histories that sparked imagination. 97. This seller claimed their ordinary-looking rock could remove curses from your life. They included detailed instructions about moonlight rituals and chanting specific words. The auction description mentioned the rock's mysterious origin from a sacred mountain. Paranormal believers bid eagerly, hoping to cleanse bad luck. Skeptics questioned whether smooth pebbles really hold magical powers against evil forces. 98. A guy trained his dog to sing happy birthday songs with people's names in them. The pooch would howl and bark in what sounded like a melody. Buyers could request custom birthday songs for their friends or family members. The seller would record the dog performing and send an audio file to the winning bidder. Pet services like this prove that creativity sells online, even when it involves amateur canine vocals. 99. A celebrity book signing seems normal enough until you realize someone's watching every move the author makes. This seller noticed when a famous writer chewed their pen during the event. Most people would ignore this completely, but this person saw dollar signs. They carefully retrieved the pen afterward, complete with visible bite marks and everything. The auction listing included photos of the chewed pen alongside the event ticket as proof. Literary fans apparently love odd mementos from their favorite authors. The story behind how they got it made the sale even more interesting. Bidding typically reaches anywhere from $40 to $150 for these quirky items. 100. Here's something that'll make you question everything about online shopping. A vintage pin collection featuring the weirdest slogans you've ever seen hit eBay. And people went absolutely crazy for it. We're talking pins with messages like "I brake for unicorns" and "My other car is a spaceship." The 80s themes drove bidding through the roof, with complete sets selling for hundreds of dollars. Collectors studied the pin-back designs like they were examining ancient artifacts. The seller offered both individual pins and bulk lots, creating a feeding frenzy among buyers who desperately wanted to own a piece of ridiculous history. What started as someone cleaning out their old junk drawer turned into a goldmine of nostalgia and absurdity that perfectly captures why the internet marketplace can be so beautifully unpredictable. 101. Someone actually recorded their own laugh and sold it as an audio file on eBay. The buyer got a digital recording they could use as a ringtone or notification sound. The seller pitched it as a unique laugh that would make people smile. Well, at least they were honest about what they were selling. The winning bid wasn't huge, but someone out there now owns another person's giggle. Makes you wonder what other random sounds people might auction off next. Digital items like this are becoming more popular because there's no shipping involved. The buyer downloads the file and that's it. Some people probably bought it as a gag gift for friends. Others might have genuinely wanted a cheerful ringtone that wasn't some generic beeping sound. The seller included a sample clip so bidders knew exactly what they were getting.